Okay, I'm gonna stand here for just a minute, but I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to the Atlantic. I'm going to try to provoke a little thought. I'm going to try to remind us that we are in a bubble right now. We are actually in the Teddy on the west end of Washington, D.C., and I would argue to say that we're part of this 1% when it comes to, we're going to talk about food, but I'm going to try to broaden this to a little bit of a global discussion because I think one of the things is taking ourselves a little bit out of the context. We shape food policy. This country leads the world in shaping food policy. This city shapes food policy. But when we step back and look at income, the way we make our own food choices, we're a little bit of in a bubble. So I'm going to try to break that. So I'm going to start with this. I think everything keeps, and we must, sometimes these meetings get a little bit into the bigger context. And I think I kind of use this as a symbol to say everything comes back to the table. Everything from a food, a family, yes, a school, but at the end of the day, ultimately a food secure world happens ultimately, whether that's sub-Saharan Africa or that's right here on the West End, to a table. We're all 5 minutes away from a table where there's a conversation. So one thing we try to do to provoke a little thought is we've done some pilots. So I want to show you a little study we've done that actually was less than 5 blocks from our headquarters. So we're going to be in the middle of food and help innovate around food. Well, here's 5 blocks from us. We partner with a community center as well as the Academy of Nutritionists and Dietitians, and you're going to see a little bit of a study here, and I'm going to take you to a table 4 blocks from my headquarters right now.
We live in the east side of Indianapolis, and we are a family of 5. My husband, 3 girls, and me, and 2 cats. I love my family. My lifestyle before, I was the person like wrong, getting breakfast with ate a lot of tortillas, rice, peas, and 1 plate potatoes, huge portion size. I know it's crazy running in the morning to everything, but you have to take care of your family. Sometimes we don't think like you're doing something wrong for the people you love. It started change when my husband getting sick. He was diagnosed with diabetes, and I was thinking, I really love my family. When I buy chips, Coke, because I don't care my family when I doing stuff like that. When you getting a good breakfast, you got more energy. They give you an invitation to Ocean Shepherd. They say they gonna have some kind of nutrition program. They start talking about which kind of food we ate. We learn like you have to taste a lot of kind of different fruits, vegetables, and it's different. Like in this class, I never ate the broccoli raw, but I tasted it tastes good. You have to eat just some amount of the carbohydrates and some amount of the protein. More meat, protein give it a lot of energy. I spend less money, and I told my husband, I can't believe it, how much I spent before. It was a huge change. We learned how to cook healthy. Now I cook on the stove, but my daughters or my husband can do the vegetables or help me with the other stuff. And now everybody sit down like a family, and my husband say, I like it because we are together here.
So my challenge is context. And I think anything we talk about today and we get in the middle of a lot of big discussions is, hey, how does it relate back to the table? What we learned in this study, and we're doing more of these, is a lot of the discussion that's happened this morning. Changing just a little bit of education. Once a week, 40 families, 1 mother from each family in the course of just the shortness of 3 to 4 weeks with a couple hours a week. We've changed diets. We've shown that actually affordability to that table is actually better than what they were doing before, an immediate, quick change. I come from a human pharmaceutical company that is one of the leaders in diabetes, but candidly, one of the biggest investment areas has been in this area of, and what I want to talk about is protein. And we are all about the animal and how do we optimize the animal, the health of the animal. So I want to provoke in the next couple minutes 4 realities around protein on this table, 4 kind of implications, and 4 solutions. I'm not going to go into detail. That I think is for a good discussion on the panel that's coming up after me. So, and I kind of use this as say, the root of really what we're about in food impacts everything. Healthcare, communities, costs, affordability, education scores. I mean, I don't think there's my argument is I don't think there's anything we can really get to the root of so many issues in the world today than taking care of what we can do in terms of creating a more affordable, safe, food secure table. Okay, so with that, here we go. 4 realities. I'm going to give you 4 things that I would argue to say I'm ready to challenge anyone to say challenge these. These are pretty much straightforward facts. One is there is a demand that they're projecting by 2050 to be 60% more protein. Now that prediction came out over 2 years ago, and what I will say is it's far exceeded the plan already. There's kind of a protein explosion that's occurring, and there's 4 reasons. 1, yeah, there's more population. 2, yeah, there's more middle class. But I think there's 2 other dynamics that weren't even predicted to be as significant as they are today, 2 years ago. And that is, one is the like Jenny's table, the impact of protein on that table and on the diet has actually increased significantly. And then the other one is, I don't know if you go into a Costco today, you can easily find 12 to 15 paleo diet cookbooks. I mean, the movement and the challenge against carbs and sugar have opened the door for protein in the diets today. This has created a significant, actually, if you look at this right here, there is a protein gap. These are the predictions of where protein was going to go and the actual reality as we are far exceeding that in demand already. Now, there's multiple sources of protein. We know that. But if we are in the animal business, the animal health business, the impact on our customer base is quite significant. So reality 1 is 60% more protein that they're predicting into the future, and that's happening. The second reality is this. I'm gonna back up here if I can. All right, yeah. So the second reality is environment. I want you to watch this. You're going to hear of one of the best experts, Jason Clay, coming up at the next panel. But the second reality is we're using more of our resources today than we were even last year. The actual number is today we're utilizing 1.6 planets equivalent of resources in the course of a year. And just take a look at, if you just kind of play this out over the last few years, how are we doing relative to the resources? We're actually not. We're using more resources than we have. Take a look at kind of the Earth overshoot days over time with this slide. And you can see that we're slowly moving back further and further in the year on the date that actually is the date that we've used up all we should for that year. It's now in August. In 2007, it was in October. So look, we've got to do this with less. So when you combine 60% more protein, and we're living on 1.6 planets, now I'm going to talk about something that people don't like to talk about, but I think we have to talk about, and that is the health of the animal. We're not talking about a commodity or a widget. We're talking about something that's quite dynamic, and it is not static. And the well-being and the health of an animal from every one of the protein sources is pretty dynamic. And I'm going to be a little provocative and show you a few things. I'll start in the middle. Today, there are six emerging diseases in animals. You hear about bird flu, but there's others. There's one on every continent. We have a few on this continent as well. So that's one. I'll go to the right. We're going to talk a lot about, we had a little salon dinner last night. One of the top themes in the dinner from thought leaders all over was climate volatility is real. Climate volatility adds additional stress and pressure on the production of animals. More so today than I would argue than it was 5 to 7 years ago. And then the far left just shows to say, let's put this, we spoke at the White House in June and we talked a lot about, listen, every animal experiences some kind of stress challenge just like your child. As your child gets an ear infection, as you can see here, 3 out of 4 beef cattle will get the equivalent of an ear infection during their lifetime. And I think understanding how you address those health issues is absolutely critical. So again, it's dynamic, it's real. And I think it's another reality we got to put on the table. We need 60% more protein. We're overusing our resources, and we got a dynamic animal health situation. and I'll lay the last one on, which is a big part of what we do in this room, is where the noise comes from. The majority of the noise comes from 4% of the population. What do I mean? If you survey, and this has come from all the different surveys since 2007 out there, hundreds of thousands of consumers, it actually shows that 95% of the global consumers want taste, cost, and nutrition. They want content, the cost of their food, the affordability of their food. They want to know the brands that they like. In the middle is where we all lie, where money really doesn't matter when we go into a grocery store. And that gives you a little bit of a sense of the luxury buyer. And then there's a sliver of that luxury buyer that's saying, I'm going to make this a social agenda. Food is personal. I do think it's important to know organic. Organic is 4%. Of the 4% organic, 2 to 3% is meat. In Europe, it's 2.5%, not 4%. But the majority of voice and policy come from that segment in the middle. And a lot of the social change occurs from the fringe on the outside. So implications are quite simple. Just this slide. We need, very simply, less animals, less disease. We need less of an environmental footprint, and we need less noise. With that, we can put this one health. The health of people is linked to the health of the food chain and health of animals. Very simple. But this less concept is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. We believe we need less animals. Can it be done? There's 4 platforms. I'm not going to get into these, but I think the rest of today, there's discussions around all of us fall into these 4 platforms. We need innovation. We can't stop innovation. Innovation can be viewed differently, and I'm going to just double down on this one just for a minute. The other one is choice. Everyone deserves choice. Every refrigerator is a little bit of our own identity, and nobody can take our choice away. When we start to take other people's choice away, we need to be careful. The other one's access. That can be trade, but that also can be a quick service restaurant, supply chain. Access in food is key. Access to cafeterias. And then this whole area of nutrition that's already been talked about this morning. Those are the 4 platforms. Now, let me just highlight on innovation through the context of animal protein. The message is very simple. We are adding animals primarily to get more protein right now. And we've made good progress, and there's been good productivity. And if we stay on the same level of productivity, which is increasing at an increasing rate, we can actually freeze our footprint. We can add no more animals. That's the good news. But if we stop the productivity, and that's the challenge that a lot of animal production is under, we'll need significantly more animals. The other, I would say, is if we remove even current innovations that are being used in animals without better alternatives, this will be unsustainable. And so I think this is the dynamic. How are we doing? Look at a few of the species group. Blue represents, this is since 2007, this is how we've actually met the demand. Blue is animals, green is efficiency. I'll note 2 species, eggs and beef, that are actually going backwards. Productivity globally, not in the US, but globally, is going backwards. This is unsustainable. We can't add animals in the productivity platform. Can we do this? This is the exciting slide. We absolutely can do this. This is another untold story. Take the average animal. Let's just take the dairy cow. The average dairy cow produces 2 gallons of milk a day. Best in class produces 8 gallons a day. All we need to do is move the average up just a little. Well, Jeff, that must be some bad stuff that you have to use. No. The 3 biggest sources are clean water, better feed, and removing stress. Those are the big things. It may be a vaccination program, the right genetics, the right ventilation in a barn. We moved from 2 gallons up just a little bit, 4 ounces a day per cow for a couple years. We give the world the milk that it needs. So this can be done, and we can feed more and more people with less animals. So my conclusion is really, hey, first of all, innovation is the solution, not more animals. But that is a dynamic that in these discussions we got to talk about, because innovation is something that's being challenged. The second is global productivity is plateauing. And animal disease, et cetera, is part of that. And I think we got to be very careful. I'll just end with my final point. We can't remove a safe, proven solution, whether that is how we raise chickens that lay eggs in a different housing setup, without an alternative that's proven. We can't remove an animal use only antibiotic that deals with an infection in an animal without first, and setting a date to remove it, without first having an alternative that is proven and safe as well, because of this, the dynamic nature of this. I think these are some of the key things. So again, 4 realities. We believe that protein is going to be a bigger part of the plate. It does come back to the table. There's implications, and the big provocative thing is we need less environment, less animals, less disease. And it's going to take more dialogue like this around innovation and choice, nutrition, and access to make that happen. Okay? Thank you.